whether it's a production or a software delivery, it still requires you to deliver a quality product on time. So the AI won't replace the execution discipline. Where it is helping you to identify the cost of poor discipline.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Peer Review. Today on the show, we've got Gaurav Nigam with us. Gaurav is the Vice President of Engineering at WorkBoard. It's a platform that helps enterprise teams align on strategic outcomes through OKRs and drive execution with a lot of insights related to that. So it's how do you attach your strategy to your execution? I think this is a really exciting area for Gen AI, actually, as it can really understand what you are doing in your daily work and then interpret that to how it aligns with goals. So I think it opens up so many new possibilities, companies like WorkBoard and frankly for teams out there. Gaurav's a seasoned product leader with a lot of strong engineering foundation. He spent over a decade at WorkBoard, so he's really helped build that entire company. He scaled teams, led cloud migrations, and most recently really spending a lot of time driving the adoption of AI and Gen AI, and we're going to talk about that. Gaurav actually shares a lot of thoughts on Medium. I would encourage you to check it out, where he likes to explore topics like building AI agents, developer productivity, and the future of leadership in the age of generative AI, which I think is another area that would be interesting to talk about. So Gaurav, welcome to Peer Review.
Thank you, Amar. And I'm thrilled to be here. And I was super excited about diving into this topic about alignment. It is close to me, as you could imagine. More than 10 years building a software that helps you to drive alignment, help you to adopt OKR framework for your execution clarity. That is a new term. You probably have heard it, that our platform provides to our customers.
So maybe let's start with WorkBoard. What are some of the biggest changes you see kind of in how product and engineering teams are trying to align on outcomes now, especially as generative AI is heavily in the mix? Is that affecting how teams are working?
I see there are two sides dealing with this problem. So one is who is using the OKRs and one is who is not using the OKRs. If you look at the OKR framework or the OKR methodology, it gives you an anchor to drive stronger alignment. Whether your organization is managing a top-down or bottom-up alignment exercise with the help of OKR. And when I say top-down, an organization set the objective, provide you the business clarity, then all the downstream organizations, department, they connect with the upstream OKR. And as a organization together, they drive towards a common goal that becomes a quarterly business outcome for the organization. So when it comes to product and engineering, we look at the same aim. I would say that it's like the alignment challenge, it caused dissolve. And at this point, working with the same partner almost like more than 10 years, it also became a problem that we don't have it. Or if I may generalize it, any organizations who are driving it with the framework like OKR, they might not be having it, or they might be having it with a less severity as compared to the other organization. Because the tool enforces a stronger alignment exercise and it helps you to drive the alignment with the same goal and the same purpose that you're having it.
How is it impacting product and engineering then? I guess, you're kind of saying it's helping drive alignment. So that's general kind of alignment is driving. But, I think product and engineering teams, it feels like switching engineering teams is where Gen AI is probably having the biggest impact so far. So do you see somehow alignment changing there?
Yeah. So then in that case, the other set, right, which are not using the OKR framework, there are challenges where they don't have a common, I would say, the vocab to use it when you are driving that alignment. It often goes back to the status meetings, the check-ins, right? The traditional tools to drive the alignment. What generative AI, it helps us to increasing the alignment is by reducing the number of hours that you are having it into the conversation about why this is important.
Right.
Why this shift is important, why this product is important, because you are always going to start with an insight summary, right? Insight summary of that might be driven by the data, the product adoption, the usage. We collect a lot of metrics. Most of the conversations that we have it around the product based on the metrics and the data, based on the usage pattern and the trend that we are having it. And if you look at it like often before Gen AI or You probably have seen it on 2022. This is like 25 page of PowerPoint slides, or even more than that. And now,
I mean, for OKRs, the strategy plan and the OKRs.
yeah, and even like why this is an important product for the quarter, or why should we investing it
Right.
in the
Right.
year. And right now, you start with a summary, right? So you start with a summary that is in front of you using the tool, using the generative AI. So it kind of help you to navigate to the conversation. And that navigation is always like less lost conversation where you have a clarity that this is the direction that we should be versus evaluating multiple directions and then finding out. So it reduces the time that you are doing it in a non-meaningful conversation and doing a sensible planning, and that helps both product as well as engineering identifying how you're going to do it by aligning on what you are going to do it, and again going back to the OKR why you are doing it.
Do you do things like listening to stand-ups and whatnot to see how then what people are doing is relating to the OKRs and the strategy?
So we have this ritual called calibrate and celebrate. So whether it's L1 organization, L2, or any engineering sport, they all start with Monday with calibration. So what you are going to calibrate it in the week, and celebration is what you have achieved it from this week, what you have accomplished, right? So going back on, yes, we do, every team, every sport does, they do the stand up, and then we do the AI generated summary, right? Like this is also one of our product features too, where you can look at the summary of the week that is coming from AI, that this is where you should be calibrating, focusing on the week. And then you do it from collected from the, let's say, a level down, going to the level up, and then you're making the insight coming from that level to review what should be your focus or how you can guide the team. So again, like it's a benefit because everyone follows the same ritual. So when everyone is following the same ritual of Monday to calibrating on Mondays and celebrating on Fridays, the insights would get would be generated by a pattern.
So you've been leading products in fast growth, high complex environments. How is Gen AI changing your view of like what great execution looks like?
The execution traditionally, right? Like if you, whether it's a production or a software delivery, it still requires you to deliver a quality product on time, right? So the AI won't replace the execution discipline. Where it is helping you to identify the cost of poor discipline, right? This is where I see great execution still requires the ownership and velocity. What AI is helping us in identifying those tools and integrating it into your workflow, identifying what to automate, and kind of having a faster velocity to deliver the same product with the quality.
So you're saying, hey, AI is going to help me go
Yeah,
faster, but I still got to do the work to figure out what's the right AI, how to use it
yeah,
right, and then what does that quality of the end product look like? Like AI doesn't take ownership of that.
yeah. It's more of a, you still need to step in. You're climbing the stairs. You're gonna, if it has 1,000 steps, you have to take those steps. What AI can help you is jumping, skipping few of the steps, right? So you still reach the same goal, but it's gonna be helping you to uh, step faster.
I've seen some of your writing, talked a lot about, creating purpose-driven teams. Um, I mean, what are some of those practices that you think help build that purpose-driven team, build that kind of culture, especially today when teams are distributed and they're moving fast? It's hard to take the time to do that. So how are you, and we just talked about AI even further increasing velocity. I mean, how are you trying to create those purpose-driven teams, or how do you suggest people do that?
COVID put us all in a litmus test that how you can generate same outcome when you are not in a same room, right? And what it helped me when I was just doing this litmus test, when I hired everywhere in the state, building and growing the organization during that time, is if you give a same purpose, give it with the clarity, communicate it effectively, then the team performs really well. If you give like why it is important, why does it matter to us, and if you provide it with the clarity to your team, then the team feels motivated. They deliver out of that motivation. I would put it in that way, right? And it helps in the hybrid work environment. One thing that a hybrid work environment or even in the remote environment, you don't want to chase the chain of command for the status, right? And in the AI, that chasing is kind of stopped, right? Because you're getting a on-demand, real-time insight, but at the same time, giving a purpose to the team why it is important, it motivates the team, it creates the discipline, and it engages the team to an extent where you don't feel like that you are in a different room or you are on Zoom.
So it's kind of that why behind it. You feel like is drives that purpose
Yeah.
is really the kind of critical thing. So shifting directions a little bit, let's talk about a little bit Gen AI in your engineering team. I mean, how are you kind of going about evaluating and adopting new tools? Frankly, with so many AI tools flooding the market,
Uh-huh.
right?
I think one thing that I found it is different when you are evaluating a tool that is a AI tool versus the traditional tools, right? Like, so the problem is not new, but it got a different color to it because right now the way you are integrating and bringing a tool, it requires a habit change. It requires the way you have been interacting.
You meet with a Gen AI tool, it may require you to change your behavior. Yeah. You got to kind of change how you work with it. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So what I call it as a work environment glue, right? A glue that can be sticky for the tool, not like a demo revenue. I put it as a vibe revenue, right? Like a vibe revenue that you find a tool, or it looks good, but as soon as it is in production, it's not working. You're
Mm.
not finding a tool that gives you the vibe revenue, but you are finding the tool that stays with you, that has a working clue, right? And it is helping the team. So that's the one thing that I found it changed. It gave me a different perspective. Second thing, just to
Interesting.
put more colors on that, right? Like right now, there are a lot of coding assistants, right? And then if you look at that, you bring a tool, you're in some of the round tables, and you heard about the tool. Hey, Windsurf is doing this, Cursor is doing that. You brought that tool and tell it to your team. Uh, the team is not gonna just immediately change overnight and get on board on that tool and start generating the code, right? Like you have a different set of people who are very passionate about the this is a craft, right? That you have mastered over the years.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna just
Yeah.
immediately replace it. So what I have seen it is creating champions from the team, right? Creating champions who understand the tool, use the tool, and then share more. Create a culture where you're sharing more every single day. This is how I am getting help from the team and from the AI tool, and sharing with the others. Engage, motivate the other team member to use the same tool, and then you see whether there is a stickiness metric. And that stickiness metric, going back on the code generation, is it increasing our productivity? Is it giving us one of the revenue metric on time to market or time to value, right? Is it increasing in that? Then you continue with that tool. So the cycle of keeping the tool and sticking with it, it's getting shorter because your tolerance of, if this is not working, let's replace it. Onboarding is also small, so this helps. Working glue is the one thing that I'm looking at whenever I'm evaluating the
Yeah.
AI tool.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great point. I mean, what I've seen is that like, there's a big difference between like the Twitter demo, the X demo, right? Of like something looks cool. And then, like you said, does it actually work in your production environment, right? Is it actually accomplishing that task in kind of the way that fits into your workflow or maybe understands your code well, doesn't hallucinate, which you don't really see all that when you just get a quick
Yeah,
demo, right? And then I think, of course, as a developer, you're like, you try something out, it hallucinates, you're kind of like,
yeah.
I don't know if I really trust this
Yeah.
thing anymore, you know?
I think the first impression is not that important in this case, right? I think the last impression and whether it going to stay with you, I think that is more important for any AI tool that you're using it right now.
All right, cool. Um, So let's say what's one bold prediction you have for how Gen AI is going to like reshape engineering teams, or maybe where we'll be 1 year from now from a Gen AI perspective? Anything that you think? I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah. Uh, we often hear it, right? Like this is AI is gonna replace my team, or AI is gonna replace this role or individual. I think AI is gonna amplify the value one can bring in from their work, from their craft. So that's the one thing that I do see and strongly believe. If you're able to use a AI tool in your daily workflow, you're gonna bring more value. You're gonna amplify the work that you're bringing it on the table.
Yeah. So you're in the camp of it's going to really amplify people and increase productivity.
Yeah, the bold prediction is the only one who will get replaced who are not using the AI. Not the one AI is not gonna replace you. It is, are you gonna be on the board where you everyone is using the AI, or are you gonna be on the board where you're not using the AI? The one that who are using the AI for their daily flow, I think that is going to they're just gonna bring the more value, and then their contribution will be amplified.
Totally.
That's I strongly believe.
All right, great. Well, it was nice chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time, Gaurav, and great seeing what you're up to and your thoughts.
Thank you, and again, thanks for having me.